Consult an advisor or conduct your own due diligence when making financial decisions. General principles discussed during this program do not constitute personal advice. This program is furnished by Dentist Advisors, a registered investment advisor. This is Dentist Money. Now, here's your host, Reese Harper.
And welcome to the Dentist Money Show, where we help dentists make the smartest financial decisions. That was a bell rang by our compliance officer.
Can't say that.
We can't say smartest.
You can say smart.
I don't even know if we can do that anymore.
That's probably true.
As you grow, you get more compliance around you, and apparently...
We help dentists make decisions. We'll just
we
cut
help
it.
dentists make...
blank decisions.
Decisions. Can we say financial?
No, don't say financial.
Welcome, Sir Ryan Isaac, to the show.
I
thought
also
we'd start
help,
off with a compliance tip because today is about Q&A.
Yeah, we got questions.
And we can't give advice, but it'll feel awfully a lot like it.
It's going to sound like
But we'll
advice.
know the words to avoid that we can't say, and you won't know the difference.
No, just say whatever you want, and there'll be like long pauses on the words that we have to take out. We help dentists make
Jenny's
decisions.
like taking notes right now, going okay, yes.
Don't say this, bad intro.
For those of you who don't know, the people in financial services that take the most liability and the most risk are the fee-only fiduciaries.
The ones who are working in your best interest.
And the ones that are working in your best interest also have the most regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't do hardly anything to actually run like a normal operating company.
Isn't it true? I think someone actually reviewed our business on Google, and we had to ask them to remove the review.
Yeah.
Like we legally, you can't.
I got a LinkedIn, we're just do this for 30 seconds. I got a LinkedIn recommendation from someone strongly advocating for who I was.
Please remove.
I'm like,
this.
take this down, sir.
I'm gonna get
Sir,
sued.
will you take this down? Please. I cannot accept a testimonial. For
No.
those of you who don't know the context here, you cannot, a fee-only fiduciary like us who's acting in your best interest, our customers cannot leave or give any kind of written testimonial or any kind of testimonial.
Can't be
implied or otherwise, meaning you can't even say, I'm maybe, these guys were pretty good. You can't say anything.
They can review the podcast, though.
You can review
totally
the podcast,
review
which
the podcast.
please invite them. Jenny,
please go do that on iTunes.
Yes.
We would love some more reviews.
So if you're ever wondering why...
what you can do to help us on the review department.
Yeah, why our hundreds of happy clients don't leave reviews on our website? Because
testimonials.
We can't. But they're great people. And
Alas.
we can let you talk to one if you want.
We could just switch the business model and sell insurance and say whatever we want.
If we started selling you whole life insurance with a vengeance,
regulation goes
and
away.
A couple of indexed annuities here and there, and we tripled our revenue overnight, then we could do whatever we wanted.
Yeah, the regulation disappears. The attorney fee goes away.
Because why? We're not advisors now.
Make more money.
We say that on our business card anyway, we're not advisors now if we're in the insurance world, right?
Okay.
So
that was a good intro.
Let's go. And the reason it kind of went that road
Yeah.
is because today we're actually doing some really cool Q&A
Yeah, we
questions.
have some good questions.
That run that fine line between where compliance can nip us in the bud.
That's why we have the guy in is it the beginning still? Or the guy in the low voice speaks really quickly?
Yeah, if you've ever heard our low voice anchorman to start out, know that we wouldn't intentionally have that there.
But this is not advice. Don't follow this.
Okay.
Question number 1 today is... Well,
give me the context here.
The context
here. Is this
here,
a Facebook group?
Context here was a conversation you and I had, actually.
Oh, yeah, this is a live event.
This was a live conversation. This is what people a couple generations back used to call a conversation.
Okay.
We saw a human. We
Little
smelled breath.
Convo. Okay.
There was body language being read.
Ask me this question because I don't know what you're talking about still. But
the question has to do with how to calculate real estate returns. And the question is, what's the right way to think about calculating my real estate returns? And where what I'm going to add as can I speak in third person? Is that weird? As Sir Ryan, can I? That just feels weird. Third personing it. What I would add to that is, where do people go wrong when they calculate their real estate returns?
Let's do this.
Okay. Do you want to throw out some example numbers? I was going to do that, but
well, this is I think. Let's be clear here. We were talking about a financial planning job, one that a financial advisor could be doing for you if they were capable and competent and actually advising you. The job, I think, how would we describe this job? calculate
What are my
the
returns?
cap rate on my real estate, or calculate the return I got this year on my real estate.
Okay, here's my question.
Talking about rental properties
Yes.
here, talking about investment properties. We're not talking about your own residence, because we all know that there's no positive return you're ever going to get out of that.
So you know what's funny is I'm selling a rental home that I lived in for like 12 years.
Yeah.
It's closing in a couple weeks, and a friend in the neighborhood who has like a similar house still owns his asked me like, "What are you selling it for?" And we got talking about that, and I'm selling it for more than I owe on it. And he's like, "Oh, that's
substantially
nice.
more."
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, that's a nice little pop, you know?"
Yeah.
But then I'm like,
shot in the old arm.
And then I went back though and I calculated how much I paid in interest, HOA fees, repairs, taxes, insurance, and probably other things. And I didn't make that much money on it.
Did you calculate your annualized return yet? You probably have you gone there yet?
Not that far. I just calculated out of like this net proceeds that I'm getting.
Okay.
How much of that I've actually paid in all those fees for the, I mean, I've owned it for 15 years.
Okay.
And it's not that much.
So 15 years, what do you think you're netting on the property if you had to throw out your dollar
after
amount?
all those actual expenses?
Yeah.
I'll bet you I'm netting. Last time I looked at it, it was close to like 20 grand
after all your fees.
Yes.
And from what I can tell, you've had premium rents on this thing. You're being generous in terms of how you're actually taking into account your actual expenses and being honest about them.
Yeah.
And your interest expense and your repairs,
HOA,
and finishes and HOA.
Yes.
And so, what's the sale price of the asset?
Call it $330.
Okay, so $20,000. Someone could look at that and calculate this the wrong way, and they could say, you know what? I made a 6% return. I made $20,000 on $330.
Yeah. Well, I think people would do it the even worse wrong way, which is the note on the house is like $220.
Yeah, so they would say,
be like, I just made like a 40% return.
Yeah, so they would say note on it is $220, but I netted $330. Yeah. So
netted 100 on.
I made $100,000 on my real estate. Like this is a gold mine.
So me and my friend were just having this conversation this morning. We were texting.
And he probably, when he was talking to you about it, he was probably like, dude, you killed it, right?
Yeah. I burst the bubble, and then it was like, oh yeah, that's kind of lame.
Excuse me, allergy season.
Because we both bought these homes in the same neighborhood at the same time. They're really similar.
So you're highlighting this issue. I appreciate you doing that. I mean, let's say
it's very personal. Okay, that was hard for me to share.
Let's say,
is a safe place.
Simple math. All right, if we really netted, $20,000+ on this property, again, bull market, fairly significant. Well, purchase price would have been year.
I mean, interest
2006,
six, and so it's funny because. Here's what's funny about this. I bought it in 2006. I refinanced it like every smart, intelligent homeowner in 2006 and 2007. I refinanced it, pulled some cash out in like 2007.
Yeah. Finishing that. You got to improve the property.
I did finish the basement with
some
of the equity. I might have wasted a little bit of the other equity.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it appraised in 2007 for about 15 grand less than I'm selling it for now in 2019. So in 2007, it appraised for almost what I just sold it for.
Now, thank you for being the example here.
Yeah.
But like, if you'd have bought this in 2010, you'd feel like a hero right now.
For sure, I would have paid $60,000 less for that.
The
house.
hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have probably come in here singing a different tune. Meaning, like, I'm a savvy real estate investor.
I'm savvy.
I'm no sucker. I figured this thing out. I know when to buy property.
It would have been smart if I had bought it.
That would have been.
And if I could
I don't think
replicate
I would have been smart. That'd have been incredibly lucky.
Yep.
But that's the nature of that cycle.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's an interesting psychological experience because how often in 15 years did I price my house? So I priced it when I bought it. I refinanced it once, and I'm pricing it now 15 years later when I'm selling it. So I've seen the price of my house, like a market price, 3 times in 15 years.
Yeah.
And so you never look at that thing. Mm-hmm. You're just at the end, and it's like, oh, cool, I made a bunch of money.
Yeah, you never look at it, but you just
and I didn't track my expenses along the way either. I had to go back.
You just look at it. You don't take, and then you didn't. You're looking now. You still have some taxes you got to have to pay on clearing this money.
Yeah. And
so if you take all of it into account and you just say, look, maybe he's being conservative for the sake of our example. Let's say it's $30,000 you really cleared because we're we're being generous. We're going to say you're a financial planner that's a bias against real estate.
Yeah, you real estate hater.
You're a hater.
You hate.
And so we're going to inflate
real
it and say, look, let's say it's 40,000 you netted, which is,
Okay.
I know you'd say I did not net.
It's fine. Let's say
40.
it. Let's say it.
If that happened over 15 years, that means that on average your property went up, let's say by $2,500 per year.
Okay.
Right? $2,500 in, we'll call it net proceeds per year
Value.
on $330,000, which is the eventual sales price, is on simple interest. It's just simple interest, not compounded. It'd be worse if it was compounded. This is a generous statement. 0.7% per year in returns. Right? You got a 0.7%.
Don't forget, I had a renter in there for 3 years, and I netted $500 a month, all of which went to fix stuff every year that I had a renter in there. Oh, and to put new paint and carpet in when she left.
So here's the thing. Part of this return was quite low because of the timing of when you bought that asset.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
We're not saying that every real estate investor's timing would be this poor.
No. The point of this conversation is how would one calculate what?
How
this
would
is
one
actually
calculate it?
Yeah,
and
what's actually
you
happening.
had a conversation with a buddy that if you would have been the normal person,
You're like, bro,
you'd have been like, I killed it. I doubled
6 figures.
You're like, okay. Second example, almost identical, has happened to me last night. Client texts me and says, I just got offered. Well, I'm going to redo the numbers here, so to preserve privacy, but the percentages will be identical. Okay, I just got offered $1 million. We'll call it $1 million.
Okay.
All right. I got offered $1.5 million to buy some land that I bought for $1 million only 3 years ago.
Okay.
Right. So they bought that land for 3 years ago for $1 million, and the argument to me was just like, look at how insane my return was. Like I just absolutely destroyed it. Right. And I went back and I said, well,
because that's a 50% return over 3 years.
That's a 50% return, right?
Yeah, in 3 years.
During that period of time,
which
do you know what the United States stock market was?
I was just going to say the last 3 years of markets have been
good. Does the market sometimes correlate with appreciation in real estate values? Yes, in many cases that's actually the case in bull markets. Real estate tends
assets appreciate
to appreciate, and assets do well as markets rise. This is so this person got a 13% annualized return, which when I told them that, they were kind of like bummed out because they had just gotten looking at their investment account a week earlier, and that was at a 17.4% annualized return. During that
they held a lot of equity.
Period, they had a lot of stock.
Yeah.
Right during that period.
More aggressive.
And so all I'm saying is that the real thing that they were looking at was I just made $500,000.
Yeah.
I just made 500. You could have done the same thing. I just made 110.
Yeah.
I made 100,000. The raw dollars that you net from the sale of a property or the equity you have in property, like that is one way that people often calculate their returns mistakenly, as opposed to looking at them from a real annualized return over your holding period minus your actual costs.
And the actual cost thing is hard. I mean, this is just my personal experience because
who tracks that stuff?
Well, I mean,
right?
it's in 10 different places. Like it's
hard to find.
I can get my HOA history. I don't even know if the HOA has it, but out of my bank statements, I could get an HOA payment history.
Yeah.
And tax history I can get, but that's a different place. An investment account's easier. That's why, I mean, it's easier just to compare that, all the costs you've paid, and the pricing's always, I mean, it's instantaneous all day long. So it's just, it's in your face easier. Yeah, it's harder to go back and go, yeah, what did I spend on this thing?
Yeah.
What have my insurance premiums been? And what did I pay in taxes and HOA? And when I refinance, what points did I pay? And what am I paying realtors to sell it and move it?
Let's move in this story forward to the second item. Not in real estate analysis, there's a second topic of return calculation, which is, let's say you own a $500,000 property.
Okay.
And you got debt of $200 on it.
Okay.
And your mortgage now is $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
$1,400 a month. And you're like, I'm collecting rents of $1,900 a month. This is the best investment where am I going to be able to pay $1,400 and get $1,900?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very common analysis people do.
Yeah.
Where am I going to be able to pay $1,400 a month and get $1,900?
Yeah. I was just doing that. I was paying $1,200, getting $1,800.
Yeah. And the truth is, you had $110,000 of value parked inside of this house, right? That was causing you to only have to pay what on the mortgage, right? Your mortgage payment was
$1,200. Sub
now,
$1,200. And I was making $6,000 a year in rents.
Yeah.
Net. 6% on my equity.
Yeah, so your equity in the house of $110,000 is getting 6% per year, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what's really happening. And so you can't really look at it and say, $1,200 is getting me $1,800, which you wisely did. Or in my example, the $500,000 property that you owe $200 on, you can't say, well, I'm getting $3,000 a month in rent and I'm only paying $1,400 a month.
Yeah.
It doesn't really. You've got to look at the equity you have in the property that's causing this equation to be, to feel really awesome, and ask yourself the question: what return am I really getting on the equity I have parked there?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say that in your case, the 6% you were making is a bad return. It's not bad.
That's fine.
That's
Yeah.
fine. It's very. I mean,
great.
It was. You're deferring tax, which is nice. You know, you're not taxed on any appreciation that might happen.
Yeah.
You are taxed on the rent.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yep.
so what are you really getting in return on this after taxes? It might be closer to 4.
Yeah. And if I held it for another 15, 20 years, it would be paid off, and then the return would be higher.
Potentially.
Potentially higher.
The potentially higher. I don't know if it'd be substantially higher.
Yeah.
Just
It'd probably go up
because
to like closer to market averages. On
maybe
like public
7.
markets. Yeah.
7.5.
And if I held that longer and averaged it back all the way since day one, then the average return would probably be a little bit better than it is currently. But
yeah, I mean, today though, I mean, the truth is that $330,000 house, probably market rents on that, you're saying $1,700, $1,800, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if $1,700 a month is $20,000 for $20,400 into your $330,000, get you a 6.1% total return if you were collecting.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is the return generally won't increase substantially when your house is paid off on the equity you have. You just have a larger amount of equity.
Yeah.
That now gets the full rent.
Right.
But you have to say, well,
but now it's the full equity.
Now it's the full equity that's there.
Like right now, it's a smaller it's a smaller net income, but the equity's smaller because there's a note against it.
Yes.
So
and people need to remember that. Like, remember when you start calculating real estate returns, you really need to look at, like, some real estate returns are amazing. Okay, this is where we're gonna like tout good stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, why are you so mean about real estate all the time?
Like, some real estate returns are amazing. Like Denver in the last 5 to 7 years, you own a piece of paid off property and you're getting like 11 and 12% cap rates because the valley is growing so fast, and there's so many tech jobs. There's not enough houses, and you can own a house there and you can make way higher returns than over a short period of time because the market's really inefficient right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a property owner's market. So renters are having to pay a lot. Some cities are like that. And in some cases, you'll find your returns a lot higher than other cities. It's just important to break apart the return from the cash flow and really be able to look at the equity you have in a property and then discount your returns by what opportunity cost you have by parking all that money in the property.
Yeah. Oh, especially as I mean, we talk about this a lot, but especially as someone who owns a business where money, you could put money.
Yes.
Right.
There's a big, I think that was kind of something for you. You know, you're doing a lot of things right now, both in your career and in your own investments and with your own housing. You're having to say, is a 6% return that I'm getting on this real estate rental worth the opportunity cost of the other things that I really want to go do?
Yeah.
That are more substantial, more significant than maybe what I'm currently earning from this. And so I think that's just an important question for every investor of real estate, is you have to ask yourself the question, does this return compete with the alternative thing that I could go do with my money? And I think we've adequately kind of like, I don't want to say beaten a dead horse. This has been a live horse. It's been lively.
It's been live. Oh, it was very personal to me.
Yeah. Why don't we? And it related very much to the conversation we had
Recent
this week with the individual you're referencing.
Yep. Okay, on to the next, as they say in the entertainment industry. Did they say that? Yeah. I think
Never
so.
heard that once.
Can I coin it?
Yeah.
Yep, it's your coin.
This was you sent this to me. This was a lively discussion, as sometimes they turn out to be. This was a Facebook group discussion, and this discussion was around.
By lively, you mean personal attacks?
It was only like 5 comments before it descended pretty quickly.
Okay.
It deteriorated.
A dumpster fire of hundreds
rapidly.
hundreds of comments, mostly personal attacks, but some advice.
Mostly about mothers.
I stay away from
On
personal
Mother's Day.
attacks on
Yeah,
Facebook.
You keep it classy.
Too much respect.
The whole concept was some like well-intentioned good advice about preparing for the future around the statistic. We'll put that in quotes because that was called into question a lot. The statistic that dentists retire later than the average person.
I like this.
Do you remember? You recall this well?
Yeah, I remember this one. This was a heated debate.
It started off great.
So
It started off good.
the question that was posed was, do dentists retire later than the average person? Because a lot of people are sharing the statistic that dentists are retiring at a lot later date, and we share that statistic and have multiple like rationale for why that's happening. But it was a very lively debate.
Yes.
Can you give us some context on your experience with reading that thread?
Well, I mean, it started off as somebody, like I said, giving some advice about, hey, there's this statistic that a lot of dentists are retiring later than the average person for a lot of reasons. It's not like one reason. As, a few people point out, like, greedy monsters. That's why they retire later. They're just greedy and dumb, and they spend too much money.
Someone was saying something like that.
Yeah. It got bad. But he was just saying, look, that's a thing, and so prepare early. Like, say, earn as much as you can, and don't spend it, and save your money. Just some like good advice. That's where it began.
Yeah.
But I thought we could kind of focus on this question just for a minute because that's where the rest of the discussion went. Was like, is this statistic real? Where does it come from, and like why?
Is someone manipulating this for their own?
Yeah,
gain?
you're just trying to sell something. It's a fear tactic. That's a fear tactic to scare people into buying something from you.
Yeah, and I think the truth is probably that yes, it probably is used as a fear tactic by some people, and I feel like the opposite is probably also true, which is there is some real probably behavioral characteristics that dentists have that are causing them to make choices that are forcing them into a later retirement date. Like I never like some of the comments were either like anti the statistic or pro the statistic, right?
Yeah.
It's either like this thing is a complete farce and it's only used to scare people into buying products,
Right.
That to make dentists try to, whether it's equipment or
Yeah.
expansion or whatever.
Consulting or whatever.
And then the other side is well, so that was kind of where the real anger came from. And I think it's worth like pausing on that. Like, is this thing a fake statistic? No. Okay. It's not a fake statistic. Like this is like being referenced by, the American Policy Institute.
I feel like there's like a
little.
that's
C
a chime
G.
for not fake statistic.
It's not a fake statistic. It's being referenced by the American Policy Institute, ADA. Like it's got. There's a lot of stuff we'll call them like maybe biased studies that are done by consulting groups on this topic. And then there's, if you consider, the ADA objective, then they're trying to be as objective as they can possibly be.
Yeah.
And the statistics are consistent among all of these studies. Like dentists are generally retiring later. Now, what we don't know perfectly is why that happens. There's a lot of assumptions, right? And I don't think it's fair to just say that it's, but
totally not.
The truth is when someone graduates, if I'm in Dental Nacho's Facebook group, shout out to Paul Goodman,
PG.
if I'm in that Facebook group, which tends to be younger demographic, I see a lot of people say the following question. Reese, I'm going to be graduating here soon. I plan on retiring at age 40. And so
fire.
I'm part of the FIRE movement. And I just want to know what I can do to retire by the time I'm 40. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad goal. I generally don't like to think in those terms. Retirement.
Never spend more than $2,000 a month.
Ages of retirement, I don't like value as like some badge of honor. Like we don't think the guy that retired at 55 is smarter than the person that retired at 65. It's not that way. Like we don't. Life isn't measured in fast retirement equals you're a genius.
It is on Twitter.
That being said, okay, I don't believe there's an aspirational young dentist out there that's like, hey, Reese, I want to retire at 70. Like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
It's sure. Like, we know that ultimately...
Early on a career, that doesn't really sound very appealing.
That's not appealing.
It's not a career goal.
For most people.
But you don't know until you get there, though.
What I'm saying is, there's probably some truth to not if everyone when they're young wants to retire early, I'm pretty sure that still at least the average people at the later part in their career are not still working because they wanted to. Like the average person, I'm not saying there aren't people that are choosing to still work longer. Many dentists do choose to. And obviously the people that they can study and survey who are out of the industry and retired early, they're not part of the statistics. So it's any survey that's like surveying people in their late 60s and saying, when can you retire? I mean, you kind of don't have a sample population of people in their 50s who did retire. Like, I'm not saying the average dentist retires necessarily at 70 because we don't know what the average dentist is doing. We just know what the samples of people are willing to respond to surveys are. And most of these surveys are only like 500 people or 400 people or 300 people.
Yeah.
But I just know that based on aspirations that most people have, most people would like work to be optional by at least the average date, right?
Early 60s.
And sometimes a little earlier than that. Do you ever have a client that's like, no matter what, even if I could, I definitely don't want to stop till I'm 70.
No.
Like, don't even run numbers for me on if they're less than age 70. Like, no.
I don't even care what's going on. I'm winning Powerball this weekend.
Like, I don't care. Like,
I'm still going 4 days a week till I'm 70.
so...
We're not even talking about
in love with everything I do. I don't even want to hear from you about anything less than a age 70 retirement date.
Yeah, that's not like an aspiration that you start with.
Of all the studies that are being done, like that is more of the average date.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm just saying that's the cautionary tale for the people that are like, this is a farce. Because I don't think it's a farce. I think that for a variety of reasons, some educational, some they don't have good advice, some they're investing poorly, some they're spending a lot, and that makes it.
They just don't want to cut back or can't.
Yeah, like there's a lot of reasons why dentists are retiring late, but many of them are not ideal scenarios. I think
that's fair to say, though. I mean, that just feels like a fair thing to say, and there was a lot of comments in that thread too, where people are like, "Look, I mean, I have a lot of friends, or I've worked with a lot of other dentists that are. I mean, that's my experience."
And I'm just saying, like that is a dental industry. Like unique feature, like that is uniquely happening to dentists. That is not in every occupation, like the average. Like that is not every professional career is that way. So, like I think we got to take some ownership. Like there's something happening here systemically that's causing dentists to probably retire later than they want to.
So if we're going to talk about the non-choice things, then I mean we know from our own statistics that dentists spend more money than the average person.
Yes. So like
lifestyle.
So you're gonna Now we're pivoting to the other side of the equation, which is there are people choosing to work late. Okay, there are. And why are they choosing? Well, a lot of them choose, I think, to work later because they're not that burnout.
Yeah, they like it.
They love what they do.
It's a passion.
And they're like, I'm used to spending a fair amount of money based on the fact that I've earned a fair amount of money during my life. And if I stop right now, I'm going to have to cut back on a lot of stuff that I don't want to cut back on.
Or it becomes unsure. And the reality is, I
still like what I do enough to where I don't want that
and
risk.
Think of how unique the dental industry is. I say this all the time. I think it's really cool to be in a career path where you can divest yourself of any business ownership. You can do that in your 50s or early 60s. What jobs can you work? Like where you're an employee and you work like a day and a half to 2 days a week and make a six-figure income into your 70s. That takes significant pressure off of the need for Social Security and the ability to still carry a mortgage if you have one. And
yeah, like
you don't
why
need to
wouldn't
withdraw.
you? Like, do you not want to do that for
work
a day a week?
Work a day a
why
week and make
not?
75 grand a year, and you don't have to touch your 401k.
Yeah,
like that's such a good trade-off if you like the job.
Yeah, and a lot of people do.
Yeah,
and so I think that the truth is about, are the statistics inflated if used as a fear-mongering tactic? Yes,
99% of dentists retire.
Like that I think like it's like it makes you it's not like this like the comment I put in the Facebook thread was, dentists are not like crawling out on the pavement looking for roadkill that they can like eat in their final days, you know, trying to like find a can of spam to crack open, you know, and you know, a nice tuna fish sandwich, right? It's like we're not there ever for on average.
Yeah.
It's just some people are like, yeah, you know what? This career is going to be an extension of kind of like work-life balance that I want to have, and I enjoy it. And they got used to spending a lot of money, so
that's a big part of it, man.
That's like, it's tough to like replace all of that. Like, it takes a very big portfolio.
It's a big chunk. I think about, you know, non-dentist retirees that I know, just like family or neighbors or whatever, and you know, some of these retirees are living on like $4,500 a month. Like that's their spend.
Yeah.
Find a dentist that's living on like less than 10 grand a month, even in retirement is, I mean, he just got used to spending more money.
He made more. And that's our point.
He made more, he spent more.
Life.
He got used to it.
And they're not happier necessarily. I mean, what I'm saying is like, I don't feel like there's a correlation between like there is a point where making more money actually allows you to do some things you'd rather do.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
and dentists, on a dentist's income, I think if you, like, this is the one point I made in that Facebook group, is if you ask the average wage earner, will you work until you're age 70 if you get to make $185,000 a year? Like,
yeah.
Or alternatively, you can make more median wage and you can retire at 62.
Yeah.
Which one do you think people would pick? Like, you can double your income or triple your income, maybe more than the average person, and work later, or
make less.
You can make less and retire sooner. Which one? And my guess is that most people, if they could just flip a switch and do that, they would pick more money and work a little bit longer, because they could be like, I can pace myself. And
along the way, you're just like, you know,
take some more vacations and balance
eat steak
this thing
a little
out
more often.
I think most people would take that trade-off.
A little lobster tail.
It's just not a trade-off that, you know, most people have the luxury of making.
Yeah.
Then it's like, you went to school, you worked really hard, you got a high barrier to entry, you've taken a ton of entrepreneurial risk.
Yep.
Like, you deserve this.
Yep.
But, you know, I think there's some trade-offs there that like are pretty, they're conscious ones that you're essentially making every year that you just continue to spend the way you're spending. You didn't have to, like, if the average person, let's say the average national median income is $60,000 and average spending is like $3,700 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like 59,000.
You could make 3 times that and still spend the same as the average person. You could choose to do that. You could make 3 times the money and spend the same
humans just
as
don't
the
do
average
that,
person. But you will not do that. Humans don't do
we
that.
don't do that. This is America.
You're going to spend at least 3 times what the average person spends if you make 3 times the amount of money. I know that will be the case for most dentists, right?
Yep.
That being said, they don't have to do that. You could spend 2 times what the average person spends and then make 3 times, and you'd have like still be able to retire early.
Yes.
But if you choose to spend the same ratio of your money, of your income that the rest of the America is also spending, like, you're going to have a harder time retiring than they do, because their income, their spending compared to Social Security is close. Like, they get Social Security, the average person gets Social Security and it almost covers their whole nut. Social Security covers only a third of yours or less. So you have to have a bigger portfolio. If you choose to spend more of that, you're going to be in a little bit of hot water.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of a conscious choice they're kind of making slowly over time, going, you know what, I'm just going to work a little longer then. I'm just going to work a little longer.
You just want to spend it. You make it, you spend it.
Anyway,
it just reminded me of the Ariana Grande song.
What?
Was that going through your head? Or like,
What?
I see it, I like it, I want it, I got it.
Yeah.
We can't say that. That's copyright.
Can we not say that?
Yeah, that's not compliance, though.
It's just like, that's the American way. Like,
that's a legal issue.
I made the money, I want to spend it.
Yeah.
I got it, I want it, I spend it.
I just think that it doesn't have to be that way. In my mind, we're talking about a job here, a financial planning job to be done.
This is a huge one. This is
which is track your spending properly and make sure that it doesn't inflate at an unreasonable rate as your income grows.
And if it does, then fine. Just know ahead of time how that's going to affect you and what control you have today to do something about it.
You need a financial advisor on this one, though. I'm telling you, like, this is the hard one to self-diagnose. This is where a financial advisor can actually really help. If you're wanting to track your spending properly, get some guidance and coaching on whether you're spending too much for your income level, where to cut back, what you should be doing to still live a good lifestyle but not feel like you're cutting everything out that you want. Yeah. Like, it's a hard thing to self-diagnose. And that's one of the reasons why I think a financial advisor can add a lot of value to somebody's financial planning decision-making. This is one of the most emotional topics that there can be, and you could sense it from that Facebook thread. It's borderline like attacking, someone's native their high school mascot or something. Like, I don't know, maybe that's a bad example.
It got personal. Well, I mean, there's the 4 parts of planning we talk about. You have organize, analyze, decide, and act. And there's cheap, free technology that'll help you organize and analyze it for a minute. Because you could say, well, it's not hard. I'll log into Mint, and then I'll know what I spend. 2 months later, you're not logging into Mint anymore.
Yeah.
But it's not just that part that's hard. It's the decide and act part.
Yeah.
Okay, now that I know my spending, if you're actually tracking the right way, what does that mean? What do you do? What does that mean for your future? How do you adjust today?
Yeah. It's critical, man. These have been really good. I think we've been able to answer some two really great kind of main topics today.
Okay.
That were helpful. Do we keep going? Are we good? How long we got?
We're about 40 minutes in right now.
Do you want to do another one? Are we good?
This one's kind of cool. It's like TT net worth.
Don't forget, job to be done.
And 3, 2, and.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for the questions. These are good ones.
Thanks listeners. Keep posting to the old Facebook group.
We try to jump in everywhere. So our Facebook group, if you haven't already, please join it. dentistadvisors.com/group. It's growing like hotcakes. If hotcakes grow, that's probably not
Dentist
the
Advisors
saying.
discussion group.
It's going. Every
you.
day I see a lot of requests for that. So dentistadvisors.com/group.
Remember the financial planning jobs that we keep referencing here. I sometimes don't do a good enough job at advocating for the power of another human being in helping you, but I strongly believe that for most of the listeners of this podcast, you're better off with a buddy. All right? You're better off with a buddy.
Do you remember My Buddy from the 80s?
Slogan.
Did you have a My Buddy?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you have a kid sister?
My buddy, my buddy, my
you
buddy,
Too young
my
for that.
buddy.
Sorry.
My Buddy
My
and me.
buddy and me.
So good. Hasbro.
Kid, sister, kid, sister, kid, sister, kid, sister. You remember that? Kid,
No,
sister, and me.
I was there. And then Teddy Ruxpin.
Yeah, this is it.
So look, I mean, we learned this in our childhood. It's better with a buddy.
You need a buddy.
Find it. Is
Go
that
to
a new-
dentistadvisors.com, click the book a schedule button, book a link. I don't know. Just
Book
click
free
the
consult.
book free consult button. It's green. It's easy.
Click the book button.
We have it in so many places you can't possibly miss it.
You might accidentally click it and just follow through.
And here's my strong conviction. Quote me on it or disagree with me in the Facebook forum. I believe that hiring a financial advisor ultimately costs you way less money in net worth. Your net worth will be larger. You will be more successful sooner if you just get someone helping you faster. There's a point where you're too young and broke and early on to afford it, and that's probably D1s, and that's it. You're D1 dental school students. After that,
D2, you better be paying.
All right,
for
D4s. All right, maybe you're okay through D4, but like you get out of school, you get going. There's a service model that we offer that fits you. So my buddy is better than I will go and hack at this online and spin my wheels. It's just not worth it, people. That's just my humble brag.
I like it.
All right.
Let's coin that term. Finances are better with a buddy.
Better with a buddy.
Better with a
Thank
buddy.
you.
All right. Well,
Marketing
thanks for
slogan.
listening. Again, dentistadvisors.com. You can book a free consultation or call or text us 833-DDS-PLAN. Thank you very much.
Carry on.